episode 362.
I was the guy that went over to other shops and marketed our shop. Hey, you can't fix that? Guess what? I got this equipment. Bring it to us. We all make money. It's capitalism. Let's all make money and learn how to market it so we all make money.
Welcome, aftermarketers, to Remarkable Results Radio. Listen to learn just one thing from today's episode on your journey to remarkable results. Hi, Carm Capriato here, and welcome to Remarkable Results Radio and to the brassy and bold 6th installation of Tech Talk with Bob, Peter, and Matt. Listen, satisfying the forever student with a treasure trove of knowledge is what we do. And we've added a book section to our website to bolster your personal development and growth. As my friend Barry Barrett says, leaders are readers. Check out the new page and see all the books we've discussed on the podcast. Go to remarkableresults.biz/books. Hey, looking for a hands-on real-world technical training experience? Well, Garage Gurus offers on-site training in major markets across the country, providing the equipment, tools, and know-how needed to help keep your next job on track. Find out more at fmgaragegurus.com. And congratulations to Brent Berman, who leads Garage Gurus for Federal Mogul, who recently won the Mort Schwartz Excellence in Education Award. Congratulations, Brent. A shout out to new Facebook friends Brian Ponder, the ASCCA San Jose chapter, and Rodney Mitchell, and LinkedIn connections Monica Liu and Mike Goss. Get social with the community at remarkableresults.biz/social. Okay, now you're ready to dive into our continuing Tech Talk series. The guys are back for another go at some weighted thinking. Join Matt Fanslow, the diagnostic tech shop manager at Riverside Automotive in Red Wing, Minnesota. Peter Landry, ASEL1 Master Automotive Technician from Brookfield, Wisconsin. And Bob Heipp from Mobile Auto Solutions, LLC, and Lead Tech and Technician Manager in the Chicago area and Northwest Indiana. Both Peter and Bob work for Mobile Auto Solutions. This episode and this series is built on an open mic concept, anything goes format that you've come to appreciate from this trio. They are talking valuing techs, mentoring, marketing your diag capabilities, building a personal network, improving diagnostic skills, ADIS, and a whole lot more. Find the key talking points at remarkableresults.biz/E362. Now, Peter Landry, Bob Heipp, and Matt Fanslow, building upon the first 5 episodes. Here's number 6 in the Tech Talk series. Hey, welcome everybody. Tech Talk part 6? No, is it 7? Is it 6? What number?
Well, if you would leave the mic running, we would have got 6, 7, and 8 done last time.
Yeah, I know you're absolutely right. Because when we ended number 5, we just kept going on and on and on. And frankly, guys, I have to agree with you. There was some classic stuff there that we left on the cutting room floor. Glad to see you guys. Bob Heipp, Matt Fanslow, Peter Landry. Golly, wow, our sixth get together. Oh, wow, and the people who listen, they want more and more of you guys. So I guess we have to deliver. Thanks for being here. So Matt, how was Auto Mechanica?
Well,
I know you were there. Tell me, give me a high quality review in a minute or less.
I was allegedly there. I suppose to be critical, it could have been better attended.
Better attended.
By the trade show and the training courses provided, the seminars. I think were very poorly attended. Other than that, the venue is actually quite nice. The Georgia World Congress Center is a good space to have a trade show and training event such as Auto Mechanica. I believe it's there again next year.
Okay.
So location near Atlanta Airport it's close.
Oh, it's not going to be in Chicago?
No, I don't think so. I think it's in Atlanta again.
Well, somebody told me that the contract had been signed for Chicago. That's interesting.
I was under that impression too, but the word I got was they're going to have it there again. It's within a short walking distance of Phillips Arena and the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. But, when I was down there, I was kind of thinking I was pretty critical of Auto Mechanica. And maybe for the trade show, they're going to have to reassess what they're doing and how they're recruiting and taking care of their vendors. But I was thinking about the training side of it. You kind of have to be under a rock not to know about Auto Mechanica, be unfamiliar with the name and where it is. And I'm just kind of thinking about it. You can only do so many promotions to try to get attendance. And being that they're so poorly attended, I think this is going back to a industry or trade culture of training or lack of training, either techs demanding training, seeking training, or shop owners, managers demanding training of their employees. I mean, that was in Atlanta, right? So there's got to be a few shops in and around the area. If a shop owner or a manager asks their techs, hey, look this class list over, does anything intrigue you? And they say yes or even no, send them to training, those numbers go through the roof. So I think we as a trade, we as an industry have to accept some responsibility for the attendance.
So Matt, what you're saying is we have a participation problem.
I think we really do. I understand that there's main training events that people are going to travel a long ways for, and that might soak up the budget. But even in the grand scheme of things, maybe kind of alluding to G's rant, just the local shops in that area or within, let's say, a few hours of that venue, where's the demand of management for their techs to go attend these? Yeah. Even if it's a one or two techs, they don't have to shut the shop down. I think there's management training as well.
So when it was in Chicago last year, I had stopped at a shop, and this was before Vision, and commented that we were shutting down our company for a day and as a company going out to Vision. And then they had asked me about it, and I brought up Auto Mechanica in Chicago and told them it's free training, and that if I was a shop owner, I would close the shop for that one Saturday and send all my guys to that free training. And the next time I saw them, I said, so did you guys go to the Auto Mechanica? No.
So there's a ton of apathy going on in our industry. We know we have to train. We talk about training, but we never pull the trigger. And we never seem to want to do it. And it was free, I believe, last year. This year there was a price. But, I have to tell you, when I saw the trainers that were there, and I've seen the social media buzz about everyone who was there, Matt, there was one hell of a group of, up top shelf trainers in our industry with great course content.
There was a really tremendous number of trainers down there, or what would you want to call it? Offerings of different trainers. And it was still pretty darn good after they canceled a bunch of the courses or seminars because of lack of attendance or lack of interest.
But the bottom line is, if you went, you got your money's worth and more.
Absolutely. It goes back again. Yeah, you get the training. We keep hammering it because it's important about the networking, meeting other technicians, meeting and forming relationships, personal relationships with other technicians, other managers, shop owners, vendors. The list goes on and on and on. And we keep coming back to it because it's really important. It plays a huge part in each one of our success.
So we talk about this a lot on the podcast. We read about it a lot in magazines. Guys, is there an answer, or are we just beating a terrible, flywheel here? We're going round and round, and there's no conclusion.
Maybe the real goal should be to find some sort of mentor, as opposed to just meeting other industry professionals. I'm not sure that is the answer. It's just something to, kind of throw out there. Somebody that is truly looking to get the most out of their training experience. Somebody that's somewhat motivated. If you're not motivated to get there, who's going to mentor you? You're a waste of time.
You've always counted on Moog to keep you ahead of the pack when it comes to chassis innovation. Well, they've done it again. Most recently launched is the Moog ball joint with a pre-installed integral dust boot. It's designed exclusively for compression-loaded suspension systems, providing superior strength and durability for these types of vehicle applications. The dust boot is made from higher strength materials and comes pre-installed, saving you time because it's easier to install. It also has a larger contact area against the stud, which makes a more effective seal. For your customers, the unit uses Moog's powdered metal gusher bearing that provides longer life and controlled radial and axial movement. You get the industry's leading coverage of 10,000 SKUs, including 4,600 for foreign applications. Hey, you've been installing Moog confidently for years, and now you know why. Know why you install Felpro, the gaskets professionals trust? Every part that goes into a Felpro box is validated and approved by a Felpro engineer. Product testing and validation is an integral part of Felpro's engineering, manufacturing, and field testing, where vehicles undergo tests that log over 1 million miles every year. They also reach out to you, the pro, through technology blogs and their technical forums to listen, learn, and keep in touch with you. It's amazing to think that Felpro produces over 325,000 gaskets per day. That's 325,000 per day in their 1 million square foot facility in Skokie, Illinois. Under the same roof, engineering and manufacturing uphold Felpro quality, utilizing 4,500 active production tools with tooling tolerances to 5 microns. Now that's smaller than a human hair. A tight tolerance like that ensures the sealing ability of Felpro gaskets. And their own in-house chem lab develops proprietary formulations like PermaDry Plus to produce 35,000 molded rubber sealing components every day. Plus, with Felpro, you get coverage from 1955 of 96% of all domestics and 93% of all import vehicles. So feel confident that with new engines and new technologies, Felpro will be there with innovative solutions to solve your customers' sealing problems. Felpro, the gaskets professionals trust. Go to felpro-only.com for more information. So I go to Auto Mechanica, and I'm invited to go into this group where there's techs that have raised their hand and says, yeah, I'm willing to mentor someone through the 2 or 3 day event so that they could max it out. I'm a veteran of, I know exactly how to partake max benefit.
I think the mentoring would have to start beforehand.
Right. And generally what you'll find is people that are available to mentor, you don't want as a mentor. So you probably have to ask a bunch of people, or seek out a bunch of different people that, I'll be your mentor. Well, that's great. You have time because you don't know anything or do anything. So it's obviously a big challenge, but it's just something to consider.
We can tear this apart and maybe not find a perfect conclusion. But Matt, what was your big takeaway? Did you go to a class yourself at all?
I didn't get to because of the trade show schedule.
Yeah, you were working, and were you training and just working, or just working the booth?
Just working the booth for Pico Technology, and then luckily the booths were situated so that I was back to back with AES Wave, George and Carlos Menchu, and I got to I like being able to bounce back and forth between the two, but I was there primarily for Pico, and there was plenty to do in the Pico booth. The biggest takeaway, I think, really maybe a couple things. One is, even in this digital age where you could do some, Googling or search engine internet research to find some of these vendors, it's still important to handshake and look people in the eye. The other takeaway was something I think I brought up maybe at Vision for Tech Talk 1. I fear that we're really, really good at stealing the enthusiasm from young or new members of the trade. Yeah, new. So it's happened multiple times. And
what do you mean by steal? Wait, what do you mean by stealing?
I was trying to think of a better word than steal, but what's that?
Stifle.
Yeah, stifle, suffocate.
Okay, all right. That's kind of what I thought you were going with, but I wanted to be sure. Yeah.
Well, I notice it mostly with the younger techs. They come into the Pico booth, and the shop does not have an oscilloscope of any sort. And they're very enthusiastic. They've hit a couple of classes at that particular event, and they're very enthusiastic. They want to start improving their game. They want to get better at the analysis side, and they're there with a shop owner or a manager, and they're looking at these pieces of equipment. And some of these pieces of equipment I just can't accept are cost prohibitive. And yet they're met with, it's not in the budget. I've talked to some other friends about this and they don't use anything like this, so I don't think we really need it. You're kind of looking at this exuberance, this enthusiasm to go on a path of getting better and better, and it's just being blocked. And eventually that kid or that young person is going to get to the point where it's going to be, screw it, don't give me the check engine light, give me the ball joints. That's where the money is anyways. So, it just kind of chokes that light maybe to improve themselves. We just take that away from them. It's sad to see, annoying, but really sad to see.
So are you saying you can make more money doing ball joints?
I can't, but I'm sure a lot of techs can, unfortunately.
I'd like to make the argument that, passion and a drive to do it could overcome that, but it really can't, because the financial burden is too great for a technician on his own to purchase certainly a guy could purchase Pico on his own, but, if it was required to, you're going to have to purchase your own scan tools and, all that sort of thing, guys don't make enough,
Yeah, the initial cost might not be what gets you. It's you start adding all those together, and now you have these updates to do.
I'm curious, Matt, when the people were coming, that you got this impression about cost prohibitive. Was it a individual or was it a shop owner? And do you ever sit down and do an ROI analysis with them?
Typically, it's the shop owner. When it's a tech, it's a little bit different, right? $2,000-$3,000 to an individual is much, much different than to a business. And how does the tech get the ROI on that versus the shop? The shop's ROI should be much more rapid than an individual tech's, even if the tech's flat rate.
This whole thing brings me to the thought of specialty. Is there going to be one really good diagnostic shop in a community that serves, 4 or 5 zip codes, and they're going to have all that equipment, and this shop's going to do the ball joints and the heavy, and they're going to just send it, like Matt, just like what happens at your place?
Yeah, maybe. I kind of wanted to touch on that ROI thing a little bit, because I think it's kind of I touched upon it on our last interview a little bit, but it was more about an employee's contribution, where you still run into a similar situation with equipment. How do you associate the value of that equipment to a shop when it comes to capability? There's certain things you can track, and it's fine. You're going to track it. It makes sense. You buy this OE scan tool, and you can fairly easily keep track of when you're using that tool and if you really needed to use it. What about the work that tool or possessing that equipment brings in that has nothing to do with that particular piece of equipment?
Because you say the shop has the capabilities, so bring me all you're poor, you're tired, all your challenges, and I'm the go-to shop. And you say there's more opportunities by being that go-to shop.
Right. A client brings a vehicle to you of one car line, one make, one manufacturer, whatever. You can repair it because you have this piece of equipment that's dedicated to that vehicle. And maybe they have three other vehicles, but they're not the same car line that they're now bringing to you because you had this piece of equipment and you succeeded in fixing the car. That's when things start to get a lot more difficult to track. And I don't know that that's always looked at. I don't know if we sell, I think you're alluding to, the shop I work at, we sell capability. And that's why other shops make use of Bob and Pete, because Bob and Pete bring capability.
Well, Bob does. According to Bob, I don't do anything, so.
Hey, I just watch the map and see what kind of cars get done, dude.
Hey, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
That's fair.
All right, okay.
1 to 3 a day, I know.
Big brother.
Ouch. Hey, I get my 3 done, I get to go home. That was the deal.
I will give this. Pete does fix cars for some of the other guys in the company via phone or text or whatever.
Well, so he is bringing value, but I just want everyone to know that
probably not enough.
The fact that he gets off at 3 and starts at 10 is the part that I want to get on board with.
Well,
I want to tell everyone that we're doing a performance review here on Tech Talk 6.
some might think you're angry. Some might think you're jealous.
Let's put it right out there. Jealous
at all. I personally don't care either way.
Yeah, no, I'm not hiding it. It's on full on jealousy. Yeah.
Getting into what Matt just said, Bob, both Pete and Bob are mobile techs, and you're bringing capabilities to shops that don't. And obviously you're doing a lot of collision stuff and later model things, but how often you get called into a shop that doesn't have the capabilities, doesn't have the equipment?
Every day.
Every day.
Every car.
And so, Matt, it goes back to maybe this is the way it's going to be. I don't need a Picoscope. I don't need scan tools. I need Bob Heipp in the company. Going
to part of what Matt was talking about as far as the ROI, tech versus shop. For a tech to get ROI, it's going to take a lot more cars than a shop, because similar to Mobile Auto Solutions that Pete and I work for, we have an ROI that we can take and look at all of these tools that we spread across multiple shops. Well, the shop has tools that they spread across multiple customers and technicians. So if they're not able to have ROI rapidly, they're purely mismanaged. There's no way around that. They're mismanaged, mismarketed, the whole nut.
There's not enough diag work to support the tech and or the equipment.
Again, mismanaged, mismarketed. I worked for a brick and mortar shop years ago, and I jumped in. I was the guy that bought factory tooling. I was the guy that went over to other shops and marketed our shop. Hey, you can't fix that? Guess what? I got this equipment. Bring it to us. We all make money. It's capitalism. Let's all make money and learn how to market it so we all make money.
Bob brings up such a great point. Matt, let me ask you, how has your company marketed you and your skills in not only in your own shop but the marketplace? Have you done what Bob said? Reach out to the shops and say, bring your tough problems here?
Yeah, I think I'm probably a bad example because it's been over such a long period of time that I've been local. And I think it started out even young, that the willingness to help other local shops with a problem child, whether it was over the phone, lunch period, run over and take a look at it with them, forging a relationship with them and kind of gaining that. But going with what you're talking about, I made a 3-fold flyer and I went door to door. I went to each shop, and luckily I didn't really have to introduce myself. They knew who I was. But I said, these are some of the things that we're willing to help you with. I'm not here to take business from you. I'm trying to be here to help you out. This is what I can do. The client, your client doesn't even have to know I'm involved. Basically a mobile tech, but I work for a brick and mortar shop. That has helped immensely.
So if you're a shop with capabilities, you can market yourself to the marketplace. And have you ever walked into a shop and people thought that you were competition, or did they recognize that you were co-opetition? You were willing to help them and work together?
My situation would have been they knew I was there to help. But I think that just goes back to the years and years and years of trying to help them.
Yeah. And I totally get that. And I've heard people go out and say recently, listen, we've got to unite the industry. So if someone comes into your shop and saying, listen, I can help you with your diag work, don't look at them as the competitor 2-3 miles down the road. Look at them as someone who's willing to help keep the business on the independent side of the world and not chase someone to a dealership.
Yeah. And if I can legitimately help them, it pays its way forward. There are times where we've needed a piece of equipment, whatever that may be, a special tool of sorts. And then a certain shop has that, and you call them up and, hey, could I rent this from you? And, they chuckle, are you kidding? Come and get it. Or they'll even deliver it because you've bent over backwards to help them. What goes around comes around.
So now we get into the end of the game of, are we enabling the shops that should be going out of business to stay in business? And that's a whole discussion in its own. And to that, whenever I talk to somebody that says I'm enabling a shop, I said, if you saw my invoices, you probably think other. Because I'm not going to charge some reasonable amount of money so that the shop can just go about doing business. They're going to feel pain. They need to feel pain. If they don't feel pain, they're not going to have any motivation to change.
Yeah, but enabling, to me, reminds me of that specialist. Well, listen, you got to go to a brain surgeon. You got to go to a cardiologist. What's wrong with being a specialist in diagnostics and helping a shop that's so heavy and mechanical? And they're successful, 5 or 6 bay production shop, great people, lots of grade A techs, good marketing program, but they've never invested and they're not good at diag. God,
first of all, they don't have A techs if they're just purely a mechanical shop like that. They're B techs.
There's probably an A tech on staff somewhere.
Well, if they can't diagnose a car, then no. But here's the thing, though, to Bob's point earlier about enabling them. I have absolutely no problem with, quote unquote, enabling people if they realize and understand and act appropriately with their capabilities and limitations thereof. If they realize if they're not going to tool up, that they're going to need to sublet and when they need to do that, that's a great thing.
Are you enabling or are you having a symbiotic relationship?
Well, that's what I'm saying. But that's
sometimes you're enabling, other times you're having a relationship that both parties make.
I don't like the word relationship here, Bob, especially coming from you. It's just kind of weird. So give me a scenario where you're enabling somebody.
I always go back to the one shop that I was at, and he asked me about a PO 420. And he says he might want me to help out with this diag, that they've already used an infrared thermometer to check the temperatures before and after the cat. This is an OBD2 vehicle.
So
they've also,
just to be clear, just to be clear, that's not an approved method at all.
They've also pulled the cat down and looked through it. And they've deemed it good, I'm guessing, because, well, it looked good, right? So I asked them about fuel trims. They don't know what the hell I'm talking about with the fuel trims. I asked them about exhaust leaks. They don't know what the hell I'm talking about. If I help this person, I'm enabling them. They should not be working on vehicles. Step away from the freaking thing and say, what would you like on your dog?
Yeah. Well, in Chicago area, that's mustard only. Is that right?
No.
No ketchup. You can't have ketchup. You can't have ketchup. It's mustard, onion, pickles.
Exact. Relish.
Relish, but not like
a pickle. Yeah.
A pickle.
Onion,
that's what I thought.
Celery salt. Right. Uh-huh.
Okay. But no ketchup.
Yeah. I'm not personally just got to have a Chicago dog. Hot dogs are hot dogs. I like kraut on my dogs, whatever, I mix it up.
Sure. I bet you do.
I like going to Flavor Town.
Flavor Town.
Yeah.
Is that like Boys Town or something? Is that something different?
Well,
I don't know.
Never been to Boys Town. I'm not sure. Well, actually,
I'm not from Chicago. These are just things I've heard.
I have been to Boys Town in Chicago. It was completely professional.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, tell us more about your part-time job. Love to hear about it. Sounds fascinating.
This was strictly on the books, on the record. So
it's a sticky subject.
What happened to Carm? I think we lost him.
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanted.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. So clearly, that is a very good example of enabling, to which I have no counterpoint to at all.
Thank you.
No, I mean you're absolutely right. But I think that's so obvious that.
Oh, by the way, I don't think the shop's in business anymore.
We can hope, yeah.
Bob, are there moments where you do get called in and they're good, and you help them learn something new while you're doing your diag? You show them a few things that they may have missed and what you found, and are they accepting the help that you're providing?
It depends on the tech and the attitude. If I think that they're wanting to learn and wanting to have curiosity to it and all the rest of it, you know what? I'm willing to talk. It's probably, and usually it's not the customers that we make our bread and butter on. So it's not, if I teach them something and they don't use us as much, it's not going to hurt business. Shops we make our bread and butter on are
not interested
at all. I mean, please don't talk.
And generally,
my head hurt.
Right. Generally, when a guy who has the right attitude and is, just truly stumped, he's probably pretty close or had considered the possibility, just maybe doesn't know how to prove it, type of thing. In that situation, that conversation's not that long anyways. He's close, probably very helpful along the way of the diagnosis anyways, vehicle's ready, whatever you need. He's at your beck and call, so to speak. That type of situation is, it's hard not to want to help the guy out and show him what he might have missed or how he could have, approached it differently. Because you see the motivation on their part, the true frustration on their part, they
know they're missing something. They just can't grasp what it is. Yeah. And if you can bring them over to that little piece, they're like, holy shit.
Yep, exactly. And that little piece, that little turn in the road it's not a long conversation, right?
Right.
I'm not going to sit there and discuss theory of it and all that with.
No, that's where you say, here, let me introduce you to Tim Hotalingly and these classes that you can go to and further your.
No, I just say I don't know, and here's your bill. I don't. I'm all done after that. That's it.
Hey guys, what are you seeing when it comes to ADAS calibrations? Are you seeing a lot when you're getting called out, or are you getting called out specifically for ADAS calibrations?
Constantly, yeah, every day. Yeah.
Right way, wrong way, misinformation, lack of understanding? What's going on?
I think there's a lot of all of it. I mean, I think that there's a lot of people doing wrong way. And when I say that, I mean they're not looking up the service information. They're shooting from the hip. They're looking at YouTube. They're, just kind of just maybe it's a situation that this is what they've been thrown into, and the shop won't step up to the plate and be a professional shop. I don't know. I'm not trying to sit there and throw rocks. I'm trying to say what I see. And I read something about somebody taking a class about alignments and how it needs to be spot on, and you can't even be in the green zone. And I see that, and I just wonder, what kind of questions were asked in the class? Because when I read that, I say people stopped using the logic that they used to dictate work.
Can you qualify for me what you mean by the green? Now, if you have green, just means within tolerance.
Correct.
So if you could still have an inappropriate cross camber or something to this effect, even though both sides are in tolerance.
But wouldn't you have a cross camber tolerance, don't you?
Yes. Well, generally speaking. I'm sure that doesn't exist for all vehicles, but you would.
Well, but so. I mean, where do the alignment company? I mean, basically, we have two alignment companies. We have Hunter and we have Bean, right?
Yeah.
Where do they get their information to put the tolerances and the information in?
You would like to believe it's all wait.
Okay, taking a step back. Do the OEs have their own alignment machines?
No.
So if the OE is using alignment machine X, are they going to give them garbage information?
Willfully, no.
Okay. Obviously, we've seen OE service information with wrong information.
Yep, that's why. That's right. Yeah. They're not doing it willfully.
It's not malicious.
Right. Agreed.
Yeah, right. So in the green is going to be an OE spec and tolerance.
I'm not going to agree with spec, but I'll go with tolerance.
Well, I mean, the tolerance is on one.
It's kind of a semantic argument, but I would say they're two different things.
They start with the
right, because they're giving you a range. Right,
and you have plus or minus to the spec.
Right, agreed.
And the that's OE gives you both of those.
Right, I agree.
So obviously, I don't know how many alignments everybody has done, but
I used to do a lot. It's one of the few things I enjoyed.
So you could be perfectly in spec, and is it going to go down the road straight?
Maybe not.
Probably not.
Well, I said maybe not.
Yeah.
Obviously there's other factors. Yeah. So
road crown, all the rest of it, right?
Sure. Yep. Tire pole. Who knows?
Yeah. There's all sorts of things that go into it. So, but then on the other hand, so that's the alignment part of it. But then you have the other part of it is what does the manufacturer use? Are they using thrust? Are they using center line? What are they using to come up with?
There is no alignment PID, So these are inferred values, right? Based on steering angle is only part of the equation. It's assumed to be correct relative to the yaw. Right. It's assumed to be correct relative to the center line of the vehicle, right?
Right.
You can have a dog tracking vehicle with no indication of it. Just saw a hilarious video on Facebook yesterday. Somebody was recording an Explorer going down the road at about a 30 to 40 degree angle, going straight, and it's like, holy cow. How is the vehicle going to determine that's actually occurring?
It's not, because it's going to use yaw.
Right, which should be virtually zero, right?
Right.
It should be virtually zero. If somebody's calibrated somehow calibrated steering angle, these are all possible. But I think what a lot of these guys need to do, and I think anybody that wants to diagnose these systems or even perform the calibrations, we got to step back and think about what's the goal. How does this system work? What are the assumptions that are made
by each vehicle?
By each vehicle,
by manufacturer.
Each system.
It's not a situation that you can be like the ASE tests for hybrids or diesels or whatever, where you can take an amalgamation of vehicles and throw them together just so we have a book that allows people to take the test so that it's fair for everybody.
So the composite vehicle of sort, yeah.
You throw that scenario out.
Right. But I think that you can speak in some, obviously these systems have more similarities than differences.
Sure.
I would think the nuances, of course, are there, but the similarities being that, we assume the vehicle drives in a straight line and the steering wheel is straight. Not even that the steering wheel is straight, that the steering angle sensor represents that the vehicle is going straight. So our inputs that are assumed, because they can't truly be measured, are appropriate. And so a lot of times the questions come up as to when is it appropriate to calibrate this? When does it need to be calibrated? Well, I think the simple answer is if it's possible to change it, if by moving it or whatever the situation that caused your concern for, does it need to be calibrated, yes or no, did that affect the relationship of the vehicle center line to the facing of that detection device? I'm sure you can say that better, Bob.
Well, I'm just thinking.
I know I totally babbled that, just bobbled it, but I'm sure you understand my point.
It's one of those things where typically a tech in the bay, if you can get the light off, it's good.
Yeah.
Right? And I mean like the warning light, if there is. Where ADAS,
just because there's no light doesn't mean there's no problem.
Right. I'm in danger of overgeneralizing, but if you perform the calibration, even if you do it wrong, it may succeed, but it's not calibrated correctly and can cause more harm than good.
Agreed. Yep.
But that's more so the person performing the calibration.
Absolutely.
And not so much as how the car itself is operating most of the time.
Guys, what kind of training have you guys had to learn all of this?
YouTube, Google.
Yeah.
My wife reads stuff to me.
I get these tapes that I listen to when I go to sleep.
Is that the one Crystal made for you too? She reads those books.
I got this cool bumper sticker.
Did you see that? Is that funny or what? Somebody put on my van today, one of the guys I work with actually had a body tech at one of the shops that I go to, put it on so that I wouldn't figure it out. It says, what does it say? Warning, this vehicle makes frequent stops at your mom's house. We have a good time, I tell you. And of course, the body tech was more than willing to help get me in anyway.
To go back to your question, Carm, and try to be serious, would be I have taken some classes. I've been disappointed in some classes. I think the most knowledge that I've gained is by reading service information, by performing the task while reading service information, asking myself during the thing, did I just do that right? A classic example. Yesterday I did a calibration on a Subaru for a blind spot. And Subaru, besides being snowflake mobiles, suck hard. And they give you this horrible service information with crappy pictures that Nissan would be embarrassed by. So I have to drop a plumb,
I can't
Bob.
actually picture Nissan being embarrassed by anything. I just cannot. Have you seen the illustrations that are in a Nissan manual to date? Yeah, exactly. The character, the cartoon character blowing into a vacuum line is still used.
So
it's too much.
So anyway, you got to drop a plumb bob from 2 points underneath the vehicle with these really horrendous photos and descriptions. And then you have to take some string and basically triangulate to a point, set your target at a specific height, obviously on flat surface, blah, 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 blah. And then you use the scan tool to run the calibration. So I do this calibration on this Subaru, following their information, and I drop the plumb in a wrong spot. So it calibrates, it's all good. I drive it down the road, and it all works. So I give it back to the customer, tell them, here you go, everything's good, blah, blah, blah. They call up today and say, hey, that Subaru you just did, it's broken. It doesn't work. So I go back today and I look at it and I drop the plumb and I do the whole thing over, and I'm like, it calibrates fine. I'm really just struggling. And I asked the rest of the group in our company, hey, what do you think? Boss says, those Subarus, they're tricky. Make sure you're finding the right spot that you're dropping the plumb and measuring from and whatnot. And so I go back and I reread and I look at their crappy pictures, and I drop a plumb from a different spot in the back. And my triangulation now in the correct spot, the sensor cannot see the target. Now I have to make adjustments. I get it to see the target. I get it within calibration specs. The car's fixed. I've done a whole bunch of these Subarus and never had a problem. This one kicked my ass.
But now you know. It's wisdom. And
I hope.
And there really aren't any schools to put you through a Subaru calibration program. This is pretty much training that you've got to know on your own.
Trial and error to some extent, trying to decipher the crap that they give us and hope that it's correct. Here's another example. Hyundai, maybe it's Kia, has a spec for figuring out a blind spot again. So they have some different degrees and angles and whatnot they have to figure out. And one of the guys in the company, I'm pretty sure it was Hyundai, I could be talking out my ass, says, it was Mazda, says the calibration is measure out X number of millimeters or centimeters.
The numbers were inverted.
And the
numbers in SI are inverted. So the distance from the rear of the vehicle should be what is spec'd as the distance to the side and vice versa.
So service information.
That's how it's published. It is since corrected on the Mazda website, but that is a recent calibration for a car that's been on the road for at least 3 years.
It makes you wonder.
Yeah, how you supposed to fix the cars if they can't even give you the correct information?
And it takes 3 years to get it right.
You're talking about the weak photos or drawings to put you in a position to succeed is severely lacking. Like, why make it any more difficult to get something pertinent right?
Because then you assume legal responsibility.
Calibration, is it only going to be done, are you guys going to only be called into collision shops for wrecks or in a normal repair of a vehicle in a mechanical shop? Will there ever be calibrations for ADAS done?
Going to have to, yeah. Not generally.
It's going to depend on the size of the wallet the person owns.
Yeah, because I won't fix my car. If I have an ADAS problem, I'm not going to.
Under what conditions, though, and what type of equipment would they be fixing or replacing at a mechanical shop?
I think there's some situations where they're taking stuff apart to access the front of the car. They may be removing the bumpers to access the front of the engine. I think, unfortunately, right now, unwittingly, they're putting it all together and shipping the car, not knowing that they've most likely disturbed a camera.
I can't even imagine. It's been a long time since I've done one, but I used to do, a regular basis, timing belts on Volkswagen Audi. And you have to pull the bumper and all this stuff to get to the freaking front of the engine and do this job. There's two, not one, there's two cameras in the bumper for ADAS. You pull these things off. Nobody can do this other than the dealer right now. And it's like a 5 or 6 hour process. We're $1,000 added on to a routine job. And the people that are doing the job have no clue.
You guys see that it's booked in book time? Is it there?
Good question.
I'd be stunned.
Let me look it up. Do we have a...
doesn't have to be in book time. It has to be, how is the service information written? And do you know how to look up book time?
And then exactly. You're adding it.
Yeah, but you would think that would be included in R&I, a bumper, or, not a bumper, but, I'm trying to think of an application.
You would like to think that. I just don't think
exactly,
necessarily the reality.
I'm thinking like a 12 or 13 A6 maybe.
Yeah, I would think so.
Pete's looking it up right now.
But yeah, life is going to change. But recently I saw on another website somebody trying to get people to talk at or attend a roundtable discussion. Maybe I forget exactly. I could look it up if you really want to know. On ADAS aftermarket installs for people wanting to. I've got my blah, blah, blah car. It doesn't have any ADAS, but you know what? It's cool, and I want to put it on. Oh, my God.
Yeah, especially like adaptive cruise control.
Oh, that's a cool... I would love to have adaptive cruise control on my car. First time I ever drove it, I'm like, this stuff's sweet. I don't know about the rest of the stuff. I like to be able to... Personally, I wish people would turn their heads to change lanes, but the other part about that is they have to use turn signals now. Otherwise, they get aggravated by beeping shit and whatnot.
Hey, guys, while Pete's doing that, windshields, there's a lot of companies out there that repair them and fix them all the time. We know how critical and important that is. Will there need to be... so somebody fixes my windshield, my ADAS goes out of whack. Are they immediately going to a collision shop or a mechanic? Or the dealer to get recalibrated?
Yeah, that's for a windshield replacement, not a repair.
Right, replacement.
If they're just doing a rock chip, they're not doing it.
Yeah, I get that.
But if they're doing a replacement,
you're not doing a rock chip in the area, the line of sight of the camera either.
Correct. So yeah, if there's a rock chip in that line of sight, you would have to replace the windshield. But if you're getting a windshield replaced and it has lane keep or something along those lines, you're having a calibration performed. And hopefully they're using an OEM windshield because aftermarket stuff has proven to be garbage.
Yeah, I heard that. And have you guys ever been called in to do?
Oh, yeah, we've done a ton of them.
Even I have.
We've got a couple of glass companies that contract with us.
It's common enough that I've run into it, which I think speaks to that, how common that is.
Is that all being covered by insurance?
The situation I ran into, the insurance company wanted the aftermarket glass put in.
That's awesome. Because now they pay 2 calibration.
Yeah, do it
but
twice.
It's not uncommon, and they're probably still money ahead at the end of the day. Because 4 times it works, 1 time it doesn't.
Right. Yeah. The math is gonna.
They're gonna figure it. They're not. They're no dummies.
So you're saying that 4 out of 5 times it works
with the aftermarket class?
Yeah.
Probably. I might be generous. I don't know.
Right.
I'm not studying stuff, but I'm just playing.
Even 3 out of 5 are good odds for the insurance company, actually.
Probably because OE glass is considerably more expensive.
What'd you find, Pete? Anything?
All I'm able to find is in the bumper procedure to do it. I cannot get a labor time.
Surprise, surprise.
My confidence in you is shot.
I don't blame you. I don't care that much. I mean, I don't really need to worry about labor time. Not something I'm concerned about, generally speaking. But yeah, I mean, I can't believe how malformed these some of the aftermarket windshields are for some of the vehicles that have cameras in them. That so much so that you can't even mount the camera because it's the curve is so bad it won't fit in the bracket.
Wow.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Hey, Matt, as we bring this to a conclusion, I know you really wanted to dive in a little deeper on the ROI, the cost of training, the cost of equipment, the cost of the person, and how do shops justify this?
Cost is probably the wrong word to use. You got to stop thinking in terms of cost.
Investment.
And yeah, I think
we're all
that's
Democrats now.
Purchasing any of this equipment is not your get out of jail free card. I think that might have been suggested earlier is, you don't have this particular piece of equipment. If you purchase it immediately, you're better off. Like most things, you got to have the personnel to use it. And especially when we're talking about shops like mine or a lot of shops out there where it is multiple makes, all models. And we're talking about purchasing many different scan tools. You got to have somebody around that's got some PC skills to make use of these and not only make the scan tools work, purchasing them, getting the proper software, but then navigating the software itself, navigating these vastly different user interfaces. So you need to have people there that want to do it, that are eager to learn how to use it and continue to get better at using this so that it can be a really good or have a really good ROI for the shop.
I've done this on a number of occasions where, I would do this if I had, I get this line frequently. I would have done it. I just don't have the right tool. Oh, okay. Well, I need a nav. It's plugged in. It's turned on. It's open. Go nuts. Yeah. That's what I figured.
Pretty sure it was the other day, maybe it was last week, that I was reading on Skype. Brian, that works for the infamous Eric Ziegler, puts up that customer he's talking to said that he would have been able to diagnose this if he had a scope while holding a Snap-on Veris.
Just so you know, you have a scope in your hand, stupid.
Exactly.
So who actually posted that?
Brian.
Oh, he posted that somebody said that
on Skype. One of the customers said that to him. I really didn't need you. The only reason it was kind of one of these things. The only reason I needed you is because I didn't have a scope to do this part of the testing myself.
Unbelievable.
While holding the freaking test equipment he says he doesn't have. Ding, ding, ding.
All right.
We have a winner.
Yeah, we do. Hey, Bob, second article in Motor Age, I believe?
And it's not Motor Age, it's ABRN. But yeah.
Oh, right. ABRN, yeah.
It's third published. Their fourth is in their hands and fifth is being written. And then I'm going to retire, I think.
From your authorship?
I was going to suggest that after the first one.
So there's some really good, articles if anybody wants to catch it. ABRN.
I get to pump out my chest. Yeah, I'm a published guy. Yep. Coming up with topics to write on and not feeling that I'm repeating myself is very difficult. I've got all sorts of other things that are pulling at my strings of time.
Okay, sure.
Tomorrow I have my I've gotten involved with politics, and
it just surprises me because you just don't seem that political.
Yeah.
before we close, I want to give kudos to Pete and Motor Age for the work they did at, Auto Mechanic. To me, it doesn't matter if people did or didn't show up. There's still a lot of work put into it. And Bob, I also want to give you a high five on your articles. But before we quit,
what am I, chopped liver? I didn't do shit. Thanks. Just kidding.
Did you write something I should know?
No,
about?
I really don't do anything worth noting.
Hey, thanks to Bob Heipp, Matt Fanslow, and Pete Landry for being here for Tech Talk Part 6. I can't believe I'm torturing myself like this. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, just leave it run this time in case you want to grab something off of it. Because the discussion...
This is where the good stuff comes.
Hey, thank you, Matt, Bob, and Peter, for being on the series, part number 6. Well done. And thank you for listening all the way through. Even if it took you a couple of listens to get it all. The really neat thing about a good listening app is it knows where you left off, and it comes right back to the spot you stopped at. Hey, find Matt, Bob, and Peter's key talking points, bios, and links to their previous episodes at remarkableresults.biz/E362. Hey, are you listening to the new podcast For the Record? Well, it flows right inside your subscription, and it's on the website too. Cool, crisp, and often fiery opinions from your aftermarket colleagues as they speak for the record. See you in the next episode, and we'll talk soon.
Thanks for being on board to listen and learn from the premier automotive aftermarket podcast. Until next time.